tough and they're really rough and nothing's working, but there's something inside of you that says, I just have to follow that because you don't know who you're going to meet.
Welcome to the Binge on Self-Love podcast. My name is Anna, but you can call me Anshi, and thank you so much for tuning in. Binge on Self-Love podcast is about navigating binge eating disorder struggles, disordered eating, and negative body image. Although I share my personal experience with having a negative body image, eating disorders, and I do uncover bits of my personal story, this podcast is not as much about me as it is about you. Beautiful human beings who struggle, who fight, who grow, and who evolve every single day. This podcast is for anyone who wants to feel supported on their recovery journey and simply for anyone who's trying to improve their relationship with themselves. I believe together we can turn something so negative, such as binge eating, into something more positive and hopefully go from binging on food and self-hatred to binging on self-love. Subscribe to the Binge on Self-Love podcast on your favorite platform and tune in every Tuesday for a new episode.
But there's something inside of you that says, I just have to follow that because you don't know who you're going to meet.
Disclaimer: Binge on Self-Love podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It doesn't provide professional medical advice and it is not a substitute for diagnosis or treatment. In this podcast, we cover the topic of eating disorders, so if you find this topic triggering, it may be better for you not to listen to this podcast. Always make sure to put your mental health first. Hello everyone, welcome to the Binge on Self-Love podcast. My name is Anna, but you can call me Anchi, and thank you so much for joining me today, for tuning in, and for taking your time to spend it with me for a couple of moments here today. Today's episode is a little special, most importantly to me, because last week I turned 29, which is kind of crazy, but also amazing at the same time. And what better time to reflect on your life, on everything you've done so far, on everything you have or haven't achieved, on everything you've changed or haven't yet changed in your life, but also to reflect on what you want to do with your life and whether you are heading in the direction that you want. But also because I tend to focus more on what I feel is wrong or what I would still like to change, I thought it could be a great idea to reflect on things that I've actually learned in those past 29 years. Turning 29 was a great opportunity for me to stop, to reflect, and to really think about all of the things that I have learned. My life is far from perfect, but that's just fine. Nobody's perfect. No one's life is perfect. And a lot of us often feel like we need to just push and push and push through and do more and more in life. But we often forget to realize that we actually have so much to be grateful for, and also that we've grown so much in those past few years, months, even weeks. So I thought this could be a great opportunity to do that. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. The following 29 things are not in any particular order. They are definitely not ordered by their importance, but more so I just wrote it down as it came to my mind. So I just wanted to make that clear from the get-go. The first thing on my list is your past doesn't define your future, but your past can teach you a valuable lesson. It probably sounds like a total quote from a book or a movie or something like that, but bear with me. I have to say that I've let my past for many, many years define my future. I thought that just because I was someone in the past, or I did certain things in the past, or I didn't do certain things in the past, then that's what's going to define me for the rest of my life. A pretty obvious example is my binge eating disorder, which was defining me for so long that I couldn't imagine that my future could actually not include binge eating disorder, and that I maybe in the future I won't have to see myself as a binge eater, but rather as someone who did struggle in binge eating disorder in the past, but now is able to do a lot of things that someone with such an eating disorder wouldn't be able to do. I thought that because I had this unhealthy relationship with food, that I will never be able to have a healthy relationship with food. The same way I thought that just because I didn't have a healthy relationship with exercise, I thought I could never have that in the future. Or because I had a really rocky path when it comes to my self-acceptance and self-love journey, I didn't really think that in the future it will be as easy as it is for me now to focus more on what I like about myself and what I'm grateful for, rather than what I hate about myself, or rather focusing on what I would like to change about myself. So I think this is a really, really important lesson to learn, that your past doesn't define your future. Number 2, don't be so hard on yourself. Everyone deserves to mess up, including you. That's a really, really important lesson too, because I am a type of person who beats herself up for everything. It doesn't matter if it's small or big. This is honestly something I'm still working on, because I find it really hard not to hate myself for making a mistake. I'm naturally very forgiving when it comes to others. I still have a lot of things to learn and a lot of things to do, but I think I am becoming much better at this. Number 3, your desire for perfection is taking away any joy from the journey. If that's one thing I would like you to remember from my 29 things that I've learned in the past 29 years, then it would be this one, because your desire for perfection is ruining so many amazing things in your life. And it's coming from someone who is a perfectionist in many ways, who did struggle with an eating disorder because the desire to control things and because of the desire for perfection. And I can tell you that, yes, sometimes it can be great if you are a perfectionist at work to a certain extent, because then again, if it's in an extreme way and you focus on every single detail, then you would never get things done. But when it comes to yourself, your desire for perfection can ruin your journey, yourself, and even the experiences that you could have, because you will always focus on how you look, what everybody else think, if you can quote unquote compete with someone or compare to someone, or if you are enough or if you are not enough. And you focus on all of these things, but you don't focus on the most important thing, and that's enjoying the experience and living your life, So your desire for perfection is taking away any joy from the journey. Number 4, family is everything to you. I think this one is pretty self-explanatory. Number 5, work and patience bring results. I am a pretty impatient person. I like when things happen like right away. Like when you order new clothes on your favorite online store and you want to get that package like within an hour, not in like 3 days. That's kind of impatient person I am. And I do have a little problem with not being able to really wait until the results come, and I usually expect them much sooner than what's realistic. So that's something I am still working on. Number 6, experience over material things. I would say that this is a lesson I've learned a couple of years ago when I was trying to fill a void within myself with material stuff like clothes, shoes, electronics, whatever. Again, it was a way how to cope with things for me, how to cope with emotions and how to fill a certain emptiness that I was feeling. Throughout the years, I have learned to detach from things and to learn that I don't have to hide or cover or fight with feelings that I have by buying stuff or by whatever, ordering more things, but I can just let those feelings exist and pass and deal with them in a much healthier way. Number 7, comparison always makes you unhappy, so why do you keep doing it to yourself? Okay, this one is really tough for me because if you've listened to any of the episodes before, you probably know that I am not a fan of comparison, but I am also guilty of doing it to myself a lot. I compare myself a lot to people of my age, and I see them being more successful than I am, or cuter, or prettier, or smarter, or richer, or whatever more than I feel, and it only always makes me feel so bad about myself. But when I detach myself from all of the comparison and I look at myself and I look at my life, I feel so incredibly grateful for everything that I have and for the person I am and for the way I live my life. Of course, there are so many things that I would like to improve, but at the same time, I know there is so much I can be grateful for. Number 8, take care of your mental health and your physical health. I've noticed that in the past, I've always tend to either focus on my physical health or on my mental health. So whenever I would struggle with my physical health, I would focus on that and I would totally put my mental health aside. As I was trying to improve or work on my physical health, my mental health started to struggle and vice versa. You have to make both your physical health and your mental health a priority. Number 9, love is not granted. Number 10, you are responsible for your own happiness. This is a tough laugh, to be honest. I know this probably sounds a little weird, but at the same time, it makes so much sense because if you rely on other people making you happy, if you rely on external things making you happy, if you rely on some goal in the future to make you happy, then you probably never will be happy because you are always putting the control away from you and you are letting other people, other things, and other whatever control your happiness. But I think you really have to try to search for the happiness within you and within all of the things that you do every single day. Because if you will wait for some one magic moment in the future to make you happy, then you will probably never will be happy. Or you will be happy for just a really short period of time and then you will have to wait again for another magical moment in the future. Number 11, you can't control everything, so stop trying to control things you can control. Well, this is definitely not the smartest thing I've ever said, that's for sure. I often focus on trying to control things that I cannot control, like whether someone will like you or not, or whether someone will appreciate or value your work, or whether someone will say this, or if someone will make this kind of decision, or if stars align and something really good happens, or stuff like that. And I often put way too much focus on trying to control the circumstances or things that I cannot control, and I lack focus on things that I actually can control, you know? For example, with this podcast, I focus on how many people will listen to this episode or whether or not people will like it, which is of course great and important, but at the same time it is kind of out of my control. But what is in my control is how many episodes I make, what is the quality of the episode, what is the audio of the episode, how frequently I post episodes, what are my editing skills and all of that stuff. So I need to remind myself more that I can't control everything. Number 12, you do struggle with procrastination and sometimes you are lazy. So you better make sure you don't waste your life away. Well, this one sounds a little harsh when I read it again, but it is true. Yes, I do struggle and I have struggled with procrastination, and at the same time, I am also a little lazy sometimes. When things get hard or when I get overwhelmed with emotions or with whatever, I tend to postpone things and postpone dealing with things for a little later. There actually was a period of my life where I would always choose procrastination, or I would always choose postponing things and postponing dealing with things for later, that I've realized a few years later that I've wasted so many amazing years of my life and that I am not getting them back. and that I better do something about it or I'm going to waste so much more years. So that's a tough lesson to learn. Number 13, you have so many amazing people to be grateful for in your life. That is so true, and I'm so grateful for all the amazing people, my friends, my partner, my family, my colleagues, everyone. I'm so grateful for that. Number 14, difficult obstacles can either slow you or teach you, but they can't stop you. Number 15, expectations and reality are two different words. Well, let me start this way. I have really great imagination. I'm able to imagine pretty much any scenario that could ever happen when I decide to do something or whatever. And sometimes I'll let those scenarios get the best of me. I have this scenario, this expectation that I want to be 100% true. And you obviously know that, and everybody knows that expectations are not reality. You can't expect things to be a certain way, but it hardly ever is that way. And for me, it's a little more difficult to deal with it and to come to terms with the fact that reality will not be the same like my expectations. So that's something I am working on as well. Number 16, don't make quick assumptions. Number 17, traveling makes you happy, so do more of what makes you happy. It's really sad that I have to remind myself that, but yeah, it is true. Number 18, you're not behind in life. Just because you're not married yet, just because you don't have a successful company, or just because you don't have kids while other people do, it doesn't mean you're behind in life. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you maybe feel the same way, that at a certain age you should already be doing something, but if you're not there, then you probably feel like you're behind in life, or at least I feel like that quite a lot, because as I've told you, I've turned 29, and a lot of my friends, a lot of the people that I used to go to school with, or etc., are married, are building houses, are having kids, are having pets, and I'm not, but that's perfectly fine, because we all have our own pace. And maybe I don't even want to get there, maybe I want to go in a different direction, and that's perfectly fine. Number 19, there's never enough opportunities to laugh. Number 20, positive mindset is a game changer. Number 21, doing things because you love doing them is more valuable than trying to be the best at them. Again, it's the perfectionist in me speaking, because I like things being the best they can be, and I like people to be their best that they can be. But at the same time, it is so much more valuable and true if you just love what you do, and that's more valuable than some perfect outcome or perfect result. Number 22, every day is an opportunity to do something differently. This follows on my very first point, which was that your past doesn't have to define your future. And even if it doesn't seem so, every single day we have an opportunity to do something differently. Maybe today I was pretty lazy and I didn't want to wake up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym, but it doesn't mean that from now on I am lazy and I will never go to the gym again. I can try again tomorrow. And I think that from the day-to-day perspective, it can sometimes be a little hard to notice that and to see that. But in reality, every single day is an opportunity to do something differently, to try something new, and yeah, to just do something differently. 23, create more than you consume. Whether that's social media, podcast, videos, whatever it is, don't just consume, but create. 24, no one is perfect. 25, 99% of arguments are waste of energy. I don't know about you, but I hate arguments, but at the same time, sometimes it's hard to avoid them completely. The older I get, the more I realize it's not really about winning an argument or proving your point, but it's more about learning to listen to each other and learning to communicate better, so you can communicate and you can listen to each other without the need to argue, if it makes sense. 26, be grateful for where you are right now. I know exactly why I wrote this down, because I often feel like I want to be somewhere else. I want to be doing something else. But at the same time, I don't realize that like a year ago or a couple of years ago, I wished to be exactly at the point that I am now. And I don't even pay attention to it. I don't even appreciate it anymore. I don't even realize that what I wanted to happen is actually happening, because I am way too focused on what else do I want my life to be like. Number 27, you can never say I love you to someone you love too many times. Number 28, fear is relevant in a few percent, and in all of the other cases, it's just holding you back. And I think this one is so true, because yes, fear has its place in our lives. Sometimes fear is really helpful and it can save our lives. But I think a lot of times fear is actually stopping us from trying something we want, or doing things in a way we want to do them, or living a life in a way that we want, because we are afraid of what's going to happen. What if it doesn't work? Or what if it does work? This is also something I need to work on. And finally, number 29, you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. This is a really hard one for me, and it's probably the latest lesson that I had to learn. Maybe I will share with you more about it someday in the future, but right now at this moment it's not my story to share. So I just want you to know that if someone close to you is going through something and you so desperately want to help them, you have to realize that you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. They have to want to get better, and only then it is possible for them to get the help they need, or to change the way they need to change. I hope that at least some of these things that I've mentioned were maybe, I don't know, inspiring, or at least made you think for a little bit about something. Those are 29 things that I've learned throughout the years. There are definitely many more that I've learned, but these are just a few that I was able to come up with and that I think are really important in my life. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the Binge on Self-Love podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or YouTube, so you don't miss any future episodes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great rest of the week and talk to you soon. Bye.
You have to be your biggest fan. And when things are really tough and they're really rough and nothing's working, but there's something inside of you that says, I just have to follow that. Because you don't know who